During the Great Fairies class of history, Diane began to worry about what she would be like when she finished school. He pulled out a paper from the exercise book, wrote something and handed it to Lassie, nodded and handed it to Martha. Martha raised her thumb as approval and tried to pass it to Rose, but Rose was very concentrated to the class that she didn't see the note that Martha left on her table. But Miss Fossil, the history teacher, did see everything. Martha, I hope the note that you have passed to Rose has additional information on the subject we are studying, said the teacher taking the folded paper. He read the note, made a ball with the paper, and she threw it into the paper bin. At that moment, Martha thought that if she had powers over herself, she would have disappeared. Am I to understand that you have all finished the homework history last week? She asked in a tone of voice that meant that he had already given up, that they had not started yet. Tomorrow at 9 o'clock, I want all the works on my table, Miss Fossil said with a voice of annoyance. The history homework, they had completely forgotten about them. Diane, Lassie, Martha, and Rose began to speak under a huge tree that was in the playground. I have never been so ashamed in my life, Martha said. I was hoping you'd come to my house to have a chocolate cake, Diane said. And the dates of history? I have not started them and we have to deliver them tomorrow, Lassie said. But Diane pulled out of his bag the workbook and said that, everything they had to do is to write about famous fairy. They read instructions to do the work of history. Choose an important history fairy. Describe why this fairy has changed the lives of the fairies of today. And Rose says, go to the library, find a book about fairies, read it and choose the fairy, and then write about it. That is what I did. Are you saying that you have it done? Diane asked. Rose said. That's great. We can copy it, Lassie shouted. I have already delivered, Rose said. And we have not said anything? Martha asked. I knew that I could not leave it for the last, Rose said. Moreover, tonight I will go to see the Tooth Fairy in action. I will come back home very late. The fairies were impressed. Rose was determined to be a Tooth Fairy. Diane had an idea. What do you think if we go to the library and then we do the work together in my house? Martha wasn't sure. And if we spend all night talking and eating cake, don't give us time to finish it and we will be awake all night. Perfect, Diane said. We can spend the night at my house and no matter whenever we finish. Are you sure you can come, Rose? He asked Lassie. Rose said that not with the head. I'm sure that I will arrive very late and I will be too tired. Diane, Lassie, and Martha were lost in the halls of the library and flew in the opposite direction and ended up in the office of the godmother fairy just when she went out. What are you doing? We are going to the library. We have to do a work of history, Diane said.
That's cool, the good mother fairy thought while she was heading to the teacher's room. What a pleasure to meet fairies who don't leave a classwork for the last day. The shelves of the library were crowded with books of different subjects. The fairies stared at them stupefying. Above a pile of books was a crown and glasses. They were from Miss Page, the school librarian. Although Miss Page liked the fairies read, she couldn't bear to have the bookshelf destroyed, and most of all, not put a book in its proper place after consulting it. Hi, can you help us find information about the famous fairies? Diane asked Miss Page. Miss Page shuddered at the sight of Diane's workbook, and then she pointed to the shelves of the story section. Please, be very careful, Miss Page begged. Some of those books are ancient. Diane and her friends found a lot of information reading the books about famous fairies. Some of these fairies were more funny than they ever imagined. There were fairies that had flown over the desert alone and had arrived one of the brightest stars in the sky. They read about fairies who had invented solar-powered wings, and a fairy poet who always spoke in verse, even when she didn't write poems. Diane decided that she would write about a fairy named Radiant Sole, who had been in the School of Nine Wishes for many years. Sole was the first fairy to use the sun's rays as an important ingredient for the manufacture of modern magical powders. Without Sole's work, it couldn't get that only small amount of magic powders. Martha was excited about reading about famous spring fairies and kept scribbling things on her notebook. Do you know that the first known spring fairy was called Rosa Silvestre? He asked Lucy and Diane. It was the fairy who discovered the life. Lucy didn't know which fairy chose to write about her. They were all very interesting, but which of them had changed the life of a modern fairy like Lucy? Suddenly, Lucy's cell phone rang. Diane and Martha caused to hide behind a shelf. It was assumed that the mobile should never be connected inside the library. Lucy tried to turn it off, but it was too late. Miss Page had seen her and was flying towards Lucy, who knew she had a big problem. Please, give me your cell phone, the librarian said softly. You can pick it up tomorrow at this hour. 24 hours without my cell phone? Lucy whispered. I won't stand it, I'm sure. What people do when it doesn't exist, the cell phones, Diane said. Who invented it really changed our life, don't you think so? That's it, Lucy exclaimed. I will write about the fairy who has invented the cell phone. In the middle of volume 3 of the Story of the Fairies, he found the fairy inventor of the phone, Scarlet Bella. Thanks, Scarlet. The three of them whispered as they returned to the books to their bookshelves, kept notes, pencils, and pens, and for the rest of Miss Page, they left the library. At Diane's house, surrounded by chocolate cake and lemon soda, the three fairies prepared to finish their homework. Diane didn't know how to start hers. He read the notes he had taken in the library, over and over again. He copied the statement in clean in his homework notebook. He drew a line below and a dot and end in the form of a smile. She bit the end of the pen, ordered the colored pencils according to the colors of the rainbow, and watched her friends writing. If Radiant Soul could magic solar powders, I'm sure I can do my job, Diane thought, beginning to write.
When the homework was over, it was too late. Outside, it was very dark, it was drizzling, and the wind was blowing. I'm very much sleepy, Martha said, yawning. She put on her pajamas, sitting with her feet under Diane's blanket. I'm very tired too, said Diane. His eyelids were so heavy that he needed 2 tweezers so his eyes wouldn't close. Diane and Martha curled up on the left side of the bed and Lucy settled backwards. They were so tired that they didn't even tickle each other on the little toes. While they were asleep, Diane could hear the sound of the wine and the drops of rain sounded in the window. He remained motionless to wake them. Diane, without blinking, looked out of the window at the sky. The moon glittered, its rays illuminating the room. Suddenly the moon disappeared and the room was dark. Diane's heart began to pound heavily. Are you awake? Diane whispered. But Martha snored so happily to his side. Diane rubbed her ankles to tickle Lucy. Are you Lucy? Lucy replied asleep. Don't you hear a moan? Silly, it's the wine, Lucy murmured, turning around. Listen, Lucy, Diane insisted. There is something out there, a ghost, a zombie. Diane, it's just the wine, Lucy said. Unless it's the thing. Of a jump to the beat, Diane went to ask, what is the thing? It's not a thing, Lucy said in a mysterious voice. The thing, nobody has seen it, but everyone knows when it is approaching. What? Cried Diane, who had almost completely stopped. Because it emits moons and the moon hides when it approaches. Diane remembered that the moon had disappeared for a while, and little by little she was more frightened. At the moment, there was quaking sound like old wings. It has gone, Martha has doubted. Has gone the thing. Diane and Martha were overjoyed, and Lucy, who had written all this, was beginning to have it. Where is she if she is here? Diane asked, trembling fear. He is down, Martha said, almost voiceless. Listen, it's a joke, said Lucy, giving voice in bed. The thing is a lie I have invented. When it suddenly sounded tap, 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 Lucy didn't know how to explain anything.
All you can hear is the wind. But they knew that the wind can't be the noise. It will be the thing. The noise stopped. Lucy returned to the bed. The moon seemed to laugh at her behind the window. I'm going to throw the curtain, and then we are going to sleep, she said, walking slow to the window. When she touched the curtain, jumped back with white face and trembling. What is it? shouted Diane. Is it the thing? Margaret was alarmed to see that Lucy was under the sheets. A face. I have seen a face. The three girls hugged in horror. Suddenly, the noise was heard again, followed by a kind of scratching, which seemed very close. Diane had not been so afraid in her life, but seeing her friends trembling, she decided she had to be strong. Have you really invented the story of the thing? She asked Lucy under the sheets. Yeah, I invented. Tap, tap, tap was heard again, even stronger than before. Diane pulled her head little by little, but she didn't open her eyes completely. Then the noise grew louder. Bang! 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 With courage, Diane opened her eyes and went to the window with her legs made of gelatin. She had hair and ran the curtains, and what she saw almost made her fall backwards. Out there, knocking on the window and shouting, "Let me in!" It was Rose. There were not many teeth to collect tonight, so I decided to go up here and stay with you girls, said Rose, climbing through the window and shaking the rain off her wings. I knocked at the door below, but you didn't open. That's why I flew here and hit the window. But Lucy has seen me. Why didn't you let me in? We don't hear you. We had our head under the seats, said Diane. Because we thought you were the thing, Martha explained. I think I'm going down to make some chocolate so you can tell Rose what happened tonight, Lucy said. Going to the kitchen with red cheeks, she was saying. What most you fear when you're scared is what you imagine. And that's the end of the story.